Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
2 certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only 2 best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go.
Okay, I have one of your favorite things to share. A new review.
You didn't let me guess.
We already knew.
I knew. I could have pretended. I could have made something up that was fantabulous.
We're not good at pretending.
I am. Excuse me. Well, you're talking to a high school nominated Best Actress in a musical. I did not win. So I'll have you know that one of us is great at pretending.
I just mean you're not usually good at pretending to feel or think something you don't actually feel or think.
Well, unless I'm doing it for art.
For the sake of art.
But this is art. Is this not? Art. Is this not art?
Is it not?
It's my art. Okay, anyway.
Would you like to hear it?
Sure.
The review?
I would.
Okay. This is from Little Bree Bird, and it's called Totally a Universe Changer. I love it. Not even a game changer, the whole universe.
Well, I like to think that that's in check with my ego. Continue.
Sounds right. They are changing the game. So much truth and experience, so many wonderful guest speakers, and reading the blogs out so we don't have to use our eyeballs, miracle work right there. I listen to these ladies to and from my job, and they motivate me to follow my gut. This is a must listen if you crave self-help in your career. There's magic in that passion profile quiz.
There's gold in them our hills. Yeah,
I agree.
Thank you, Little Bree Bird, which is her username.
Very nice
very
review.
Clearly not her actual name.
I don't think that's her name.
That was really awesome. Thank you for that review. We always are delighted when we get to, seriously, I check sometimes and I see one and I just get really excited.
We always read them out to each other when we get them. So You make our day.
Thank you. So if you haven't left a rating and a review, just know that that's the best way to say thank you for this podcast. If you're enjoying it.
Okay. So today we got a new blog.
A new blog. Can you believe it? Sometimes we write new things. Once a month.
Yeah, once a month each. Okay, so tell us what it's about.
Well, they know already because they clicked on this episode, but it's about why you shouldn't feel guilty about quitting your job. And because I am so damn tired of hearing people tell me all the reasons why they can't quit their job because they'll disappoint people or people will be mad at them or what if they never find someone to replace me? And I'm like, over it. I'm over your excuses. I don't want to hear it anymore. Okay? I don't think you need to feel guilty, and herein lie all the reasons why.
I'm glad you wrote about this because this is one of those things I think we've both been meaning to write about for a long time because we've been hearing this for years from our clients. Mm-hmm. And it's time to set the record straight. There is literally no reason to feel guilt.
Well, as you'll hear me say, I actually think feeling guilty is a normal part of the process. But it's not a reason to not move forward.
Sure, it's normal to feel guilt, but there's no need.
It's not necessary.
And you certainly don't need it to hold you back. So,
no.
All right, well, let's hear your argument for this.
Well, and then we'll come back at the end because I have some recommended listening.
Okay.
For you if this resonates with you and you need more encouragement. I got you.
All right, let's hear it.
Why you don't need to feel guilty about quitting your job. Kristen and I are pretty seasoned in the ways of job quitting. In my first 3 years of working post-college, I had 3 jobs and quit them all. And Kristen quit her very first job after 5 weeks, though they deserved it for having a series of meetings about whether or not to start a LinkedIn page for the company. I mean, come on now. Maybe it's our mutual rebellious attitudes, but we've both been pretty YOLO about quitting, which has likely done nothing to help correct the notion that millennials are entitled and disloyal, but that's a matter for a different day. The way we see it, if you don't advocate for yourself, then you can't expect anyone else to step up to the plate. But not all of you are so c'est la vie about quitting. In fact, most people we coach have a lot of hangups about it, like, I don't want to disappoint my coworkers, or I can't leave if I'm in the middle of something, or people will think I'm disloyal. And what if they just can't operate without me? Or what if they can't find someone else to do my job? And I haven't been here long enough to leave. So, in this week's blog, I'm giving my best counterarguments against these common job quitting hangups, all to convince you that you truly don't need to feel guilty about leaving. I don't want to disappoint my coworkers. It's understandable that you don't want to disappoint your coworkers or make life unnecessarily hard for them. If you're a normal, empathetic human, then it's natural for you to feel this way. But those feelings are normal whenever you quit a job. Doesn't matter if you've been there for a decade or a year. If you're a caring, compassionate person, you are going to feel a twinge of guilt. It's a natural symptom, which means it's not unique to you. In fact, not only will you feel guilty, but you very likely will disappoint your coworkers when you leave. And that is still not a reason to stay put. If you play an integral part on a team, and if people like and respect you, then of course they're going to be disappointed when you leave. They're humans with feelings too. But they're also capable of being disappointed without labeling you as a person a disappointment. Trust that the people you work with are capable of separating you, the person, from the ripple effect your leaving will likely create. They're allowed to feel disappointed, annoyed, or put out by your decision, and they can still like you, respect you, and wish you nothing but happiness on your journey forward. I can't leave if I'm in the middle of something. There is never going to be a perfect time to quit. It's understandable that there might be better and worse times to leave, and you're allowed to plan for that and be respectful about finding a time that will create slightly less of an inconvenience. But if you're waiting until no one feels inconvenienced and you experience zero guilt, you're never, ever going to leave. Do your best to wrap things up in a neat way, help train someone new if you have the ability, give people enough notice. But beyond that, know that the nature of leaving is usually upheaval to some degree. And a little upheaval in life and business, that's something people can understand. Again, they don't have to like it, but most will understand it. People will think I'm disloyal. I think this fear is often rooted in an outdated idea of what it means to work in the first place. If we still lived in a world where the norm was to work for the same company for 40 years until retirement, then sure, I can understand where the concern with loyalty comes from. But for better or worse, that world doesn't exist anymore. People are expected to move around a lot more, to have multiple careers, not just jobs, but careers throughout the course of their life. Also, let's be clear about something. Loyalty is something that's earned, not given by default. If you're leaving a company with a toxic work environment or a job that's been a complete drain on your soul and body, then you do not owe anyone loyalty over your health and wellness, period. What if they can't operate without me? I know I've mentioned this multiple times on the podcast already, but the example keeps being relevant. In the Netflix Fire Festival documentary, one of Billy McFarland's employees reflects on what they could have done to prevent the calamity that the festival turned into. He said something to the effect of, "We kept fixing just enough problems to keep it afloat. And in hindsight, if we hadn't done that, we could have avoided a much bigger disaster." A lot of you are afraid to quit because you're convinced that your team or company would struggle or cease to operate without you. And you may very well be right. But who's to say that struggle is inherently bad? Sometimes things need to reach a breaking point in order for the powers that be to finally take notice or make necessary changes. Consider that you staying might actually be what's enabling things to keep limping on as they are. You could be preventing the reckoning that needs to happen. And even if things aren't all that bad, but you're still afraid of creating more work and inconvenience for everyone, keep in mind that when someone leaves, it creates a good opportunity for the team and leadership to take stock of what's working, what isn't, and what responsibilities could be shuffled around. Some people might get the chance to stretch and grow because you challenged them in a good way by leaving. And that's not a negative consequence at all. What if they can't find someone to fill my job? Again, the fear of them not finding someone to fill your place has a lot to do with the assumption that you know what's best for everyone. But do you? How do you know that a restructure might not be better? How do you know that the team might not learn a lot from having to fill the space you leave behind until they find someone? And to be really blunt, you're likely overestimating your own importance. You are not the master of the universe. You are not the sole power that keeps an entire team or business afloat. And if you're convinced that you are, that's not a very healthy team or business in the first place. No entity should be that reliant on one person to keep them operating. Not only that, but by staying put, you're taking up space that someone else likely does want to fill. And even if it takes months, your job will get taken. There are more people who want jobs than there are jobs available. It's just a fact. If you really want to create a win-win, then staying in a job you desperately want to quit is not the way to do it. If you leave, then everyone gets to win. You're happy because you aren't there anymore. The person who gets to take your job gets a place that they might actually be more excited about than you ever were. And the team gets someone who actually wants to be there. I haven't been here long enough to quit. Keep in mind that I've heard people say this after 6 months, 2 years, and even 5 years. Again, because guilt is a normal human emotion, you're going to feel guilty regardless of how long you've been there. The timing is something you'll likely latch onto in order to explain your guilt to yourself. To reiterate, if you're in a miserable situation and your mental or physical health is suffering, then you are always allowed to prioritize your own well-being over what quitting looks like to other people. The dreaded, "but what about how it looks on my resume?" question is one that I think can be easily and maturely addressed with any future employer. You're allowed to say that you left for the sake of your health or that you had a golden opportunity you didn't want to pass up. Reasonable employers will be able to understand your motives. Honestly, it's a red flag if an employer lacks the empathy and curiosity to relate with you on a human level. And if you want to quit for another opportunity but feel guilty about not being at your current place long enough, I want you to think about what you're going to wish you had done when you're 80. Looking back on your life, are you going to feel bad that you took a great opportunity, or are you going to be happy that you went for it? I don't believe it's callous or unfeeling to say yes to a great opportunity. It's possible that you burn a bridge, even if you're as compassionate and diplomatic with your exit as possible, because you can't control the reactions of everyone else. And if it's a bridge you're willing to sacrifice for a higher purpose, then go for it. You do you. The moral of the story is this. If you know that quitting will help you move in a positive direction, then a win for you is ultimately going to be a win for everyone else, even if they can't see it in the moment. Be as empathetic and mature as you can, but know that chaos and struggle might still happen. You'll likely never please everyone with your decision, and that's okay. It's not your job to stay put until everyone understands. Trust that they and you are strong enough to weather what comes next, and that all of you will likely be made better by the process. So, how does this sit with you? Have I missed any hangups you have about quitting? Come share with me in the comments.
Okay, as Rachel said at the beginning, we want to give you some further listening if you need a little bit more help in this area. So the first blog that's super relevant that you should go back and listen to is a blog that I wrote back in February of this year about why selflessness doesn't make you a good person. That's very tied into this subject. So if you have that much guilt, you probably also are someone who feels the need to be selfless.
Yep.
So
and thinks it's selfish to quit.
Yep. So you're going to want to listen to that one.
Yeah, I really should have written more about that, but it was encroaching upon 1,700 words. I couldn't talk about why it's not selfish to want to quit a job. I mean, we've written about that before. So again, I don't need to repeat what you've already said. Another recommended listening is our episode from last month, March 2019, with Marissa Burdett, called Permission to Pivot in Your Life and Career. That one is all about the hangups people have around making career transitions. So it's kind of like a no-brainer. Duh, you need to listen to that.
Yep. Okay, another one. A Former Recruiter Tells All and Helps You Get Hired with Emily Liu. That was September 2018. And that one's going to be helpful, first of all, for getting your next job. If you're leaving, if you're quitting your job, you probably need a new job. But also just reminding you why other people might be actually a better fit for your job.
Yeah.
And you might actually be doing them a service by allowing them to get the right person in.
I also mentioned the whole preoccupation with how is this going to look on my resume, if I quit too soon or if I have a gap on my resume. And Emily directly addresses that question among many others in that episode. And second to last, of course, I had to bring this up, our side chat from May 2018 about curing your people-pleasing disease. Number 1, most popular, continues to be the most downloaded of all time for a reason. So if you feel guilty about quitting, it's very likely that you have some people-pleasing tendencies that you need to clean up.
Yes, definitely. Okay, and then the last one, a Dear Rachel, where one of the questions we answered was, I love my job, but hate my team. Should I quit? And that one was from August 2018.
And I will say that even if you're scrolling back through our podcast feed and you see a Dear Rachel and you don't feel like the question is relevant to you, at least click on the episode description and look at the other questions we answer in the episode. Because I got to tell you, every single episode we answer people's questions about their career problems. And a lot of the time it's about quitting or transitioning or how to deal with a difficult coworker or boss. And that might not be always the title of the episode, but there are always career-related questions in every Dear Rachel. So don't sleep on Dear Rachel just because you don't think it's relevant to you. Don't judge
the title can be misleading. There's other questions that we get into. We can't say the title is, here's all 3 questions we answered.
Wow. Yeah. Who would want to listen to that garbage? Okay. And all of these will be listed in the episode description of this episode so that you don't have to remember what we just said. And you can go and look at the date so that you can just scroll back. Or if you're listening on YouTube, then I will have links to these where they are on our site. And or if I've uploaded them to YouTube, I'll leave YouTube links. So, okay, that's it. We'll talk to you on Friday with a special episode. It was supposed to be a normal person episode. It's not. Something happened at the last minute. And so we decided to do something random and fun because, we should have probably said this at the beginning. It's been officially a year since we started this podcast.
Happy anniversary.
Today was a year, technically. Well, really it's Thursday, but it was Tuesday in April, like the second week in April. So really this is our anniversary week. So
we're celebrating with multiple episodes this month that are anniversary related.
Yeah, so come back for a very special, random, fun.
You'll like it.
Kind of like an intimate tell-all.
Yeah, it is.
A little bit, right?
It is. A little peek behind the scenes of Rachel.
Yeah. So
it was one of my most favorite ones to record.
Wow, ever?
I don't know. I just thought it was a totally different approach.
It was.
So I liked it. It stood out to me.
Okay, well, with that titillating information, we'll see you on Friday.
See you then.